Well, good evening. This is Houndog Steve coming to you on the 10th of November 2017. This is the eve, of course, before Remembrance Day, and it looks like it's going to be pretty cold. We're hitting -12 tonight, and it's going to be -2 tomorrow. So anyway, this is some of the things that I saw in the news this week. There's actually so much that I may have to do a second video, but this is your opening joke for the day, which I thought was kind of neat. This is, you see the Hollywood casting out their talent studio, and Kevin Spacey's being hauled off, and Mickey Mouse is in the big chair, and the agent is saying, just to be on the safe side here, there's nothing you'd like to tell me about your personal life, right? And it's a star a day, isn't it? I see Charlie Sheen has gone down now. I see that Dustin Hoffman is in the hot seat. Louis C.K. has confessed to treating women in the way he was accused. There's more accusers coming forward on the Kevin Spacey issue. My God, this is get your popcorn time out, if you'll excuse the pun there. But I think this is going to turn into an absolute witch hunt, and it's going to be unstoppable, and I think you are going to see all kinds of people showing up that you never even dreamt about. And here is an oh so interesting little clip from the Family Guy 2005 episode. Take a look.
Help! I've escaped from Kevin Spacey's basement! Help me!
Okay, so here we are in Ontario. We're talking about distracted walking bylaws. And this, of course, is for people who have got their head stuck in the phone and step out into the road, crosswalks and this kind of stuff. And, well, so what I'm thinking is that if you are put your head in the phone and you're prepared to step out into traffic, a fine is definitely not going to be a deterrent. And just exactly how many bylaws are you going to hire to enforce this bylaw? I would say it's pretty much unenforceable, and I think that nature is probably going to take care of the rest. And of course, you know, it's actually not as prevalent as you might think. People tend to walk into lampposts more often, but deaths on the road is 5 out of 29,000 last year are pedestrians hit stepping out into the traffic with a phone in their hands. There was more people injured with push carts and bundle buggies and that kind of stuff. So here we are, have a very big scandal in Canada. This is Judy Payette. She is the new Governor General, and in her one of her first speeches, she basically told all of the people there of every religion that you can think that basically if you believe in religion you are a backwater redneck, and you really want to get back to the backwoods because hasn't science already proven that there is no God? And of course this drew the ire of, as you can imagine, all of the religious groups who were present and who were not present. And Justin Trudeau came out and supported her, in fact, in this. And you know, one of the little sidebars of this is that the Governor General's job is to be impartial. And even though this was in absolutely bad taste, you know what? The worst thing that's come out of this is shown that there is a liberal bias going on here with Justin Trudeau supporting Judy Payette. And we just had a situation here in BC where the Liberals won a very small minority government. They were 1 seat short of a majority, and they went to the Governor General and they asked them to dissolve the government to allow them another election. And the Governor General said, no, I'm not going to do that. The NDP and the Green Party joined together and we'll see what they can do. Okay, so the Liberals had to dissolve the government. And you know, this doesn't bode well should we fall into a similar kind of situation under this Governor General. And one little point I want to make here about the idea of believing in God. Because actually, my own personal beliefs, as you've seen in my gardening videos, is I'm probably more of a Buddhist type of thinker than anything else. But I do have spiritual views, and I find it kind of interesting that as we get into the quantum, it's getting more and more unexplainable as to how this all came about. The more we look, the harder it seems to pin it all down to anything solid or reasonable that could be understood in our world, in the solid world. But one of the things that I try and remind people is that our Constitution, these rights that we all have, were handed to us from God to man. Okay, and the government is always trying to get God out of the Constitution, because if God is not there, then you can have an administrator administrating the Constitution. Because right now, as it is, to deny me my rights, you have to prove that you are between me and God, and nobody can do that. Okay, so what I'm suggesting that is, even if you are an atheist, I have no problem with that. Should you be asked in this one particular situation, do you believe in God? I think that it is absolutely important that you say, yes, I do. If you want God to stay in the Constitution. Because if we get rid of that word, that deity, we are in big trouble. You'll suddenly find all of your rights will start shifting away from, the common good, and you'll end up having amendment after amendment after amendment, and then there really won't be anything left of it at all. Here is one of the, this is in the same paper, cryptocurrencies and the 5-year rule. Now, this is basically saying that cryptocurrencies are bubbles, and they will crash in 5 years. And Ian McGuigan likens gold to that, because gold is on a 5-year low. Okay, so this is what I said the other day in my Bitcoin video, that you will get people who are talking down Bitcoin, calling it a bubble, calling it all kinds of things, and then, like I say, please explain to me why these large companies and banks are getting into the cryptocurrency, the blockchain technology, and all of this kind of stuff. So, yeah, don't do what they say. Don't necessarily listen to what they say, but do what they do. Observe and do what they do. And here we go, proof positive that YouTube is winning. Time revenues sink. Time are now in trouble. Advertising revenues are down, and also the digital advertising revenue failed to offset a steep fall in print advertising. And maybe this has got something to do with their boycott of YouTube. So there you go. Maybe this has come back to haunt. Maybe we should just start censoring videos, stop being a bunch of, fainting violets, and just let people say what they want to say. And unless it's absolutely, people cutting up bodies and all that kind of shit, just let it go. Maybe you shouldn't have fiddled with the whole thing in the first place. I brought you this story before, and this was about a supervised injection tent that had been set up. Okay, these were a bunch of volunteers. They're a group that help addicts get access to clean needles and a clean site, and where they can get some medical attention. 3 days after warning activists against using open flames in a heated medical tent at Moss Park, provincial officials have withdrawn their opposition, and the structure is once again in use at an illegal overdose prevention site. Now, they tried to stop the heat. They said that the flames were dangerous. Here it is, the open flame ban forces Toronto drug site to abandon the tent. And then they got to the fire brigade, and the fire brigade said that it was okay to have the flame heater in the tent to keep it warm. But I mean, this is an absolute disgrace. The province is completely culpable in some of these addicts. Some of they're talking about a fentanyl opioid crisis, an overdose crisis in Toronto, and here are people trying to help. They've asked for a trailer so they can set up in, and they set up their tent because they couldn't get a trailer. Okay, and for the province to come down on them and be so cheap and chintzy, I think is an absolute disgrace. Especially when, you know, the OxyContin, the fentanyl, this really can be laid very much at the feet of the province. So I would like to ask you to stop dragging your heels and get a trailer down on that site as soon as possible. Okay, and what was Health Canada doing during all of this? Well, here's a bag of chips. It's kind of, this is the centre section, but you can see the label up there about the salt and the fat and the sugars in the bag of chips. And so this is what they've been arguing about, is the label. And apparently it only happens once every 30 years, so they have to get it right now. And it says here, after Health Canada's announcement, many groups have proposed their own options for front of package labels, trying to strike a balance that doesn't scare or patronise Canadians. Because in the article it talks about the cost of obesity as far as medical care and health emergencies and that kind of stuff. And so it's kind of interesting that you wouldn't want to scare them off having a bag of chips and maybe putting on a few extra pounds. So I find it amazing that millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of taxpayers' money are being spent on such a tiny, tiny, tiny item. I sure think they got some better things to do, like maybe trying not to give people OxyContin would be a good start, wouldn't you say? And this is fraudster scam, victims out of $300,000. And this is just one of the people here, Linda, says she got scammed out of $12,000 by people claiming to be officials from the Canada Revenue Agency. But the interesting thing is that what they got to do, that they phoned her up and they told her that she hadn't paid her taxes and that there would be police coming to her door and she'd be going to jail for fraud if she didn't settle the bill immediately. And but they wanted payment in Bitcoin. And so she went to a Bitcoin terminal in a variety store in Richmond Hill, and she transferred her thousands to the scam artist using a Bitcoin machine. Anyway, all I can say is now, if there isn't anybody on this planet who doesn't realize that anything that comes on the phone now is a scam. You cannot give your credit card, you cannot believe anybody on the phone unless you personally know the person calling. You know, I get about 20 to 25 calls a day from the United States of America, and they are all telemarketers or scamsters or whatever. I just don't answer the phone anymore because luckily, you know, my smartphone shows where it's coming from. But you really do not be like these people. These 40 people fell for this scam. So do never give your credit card out to anybody on the phone. No personal information, no matter how convincing it is. Don't let them touch your computer. Don't give them any passwords. No, nothing. And actually, if we all did that, that would be the one sure way to stop all of this absolutely awful telemarketing taking place in our world today. I mean, it's taking over. It makes it unenjoyable to own a phone, because actually the unfortunate thing that I found the other day was that on my phone there is a limited amount you can put in the reject phone number list. So now my reject phone number is full, and they keep moving these phone locations around. They phone from different centres, and so I'm still getting phone calls, not as many fortunately, but I have blocked an awful lot, and I don't know how many I've blocked, probably about 100, but this should be unlimited, because these people are just voracious. You don't know where I've had calls from England, I've had calls from Indonesia, and like I say, I don't answer any of them, but the phone logs show where all of these calls have come from. Anyway, that's about all we've got time for, because I don't want to make this video too long, but please do like and subscribe below, and click on that little bell so you always get any of the updates that I put out, and we will be talking to you very soon. You take care now. Oh, and please leave a comment. We love the comments. You take care now. Bye bye.